now as we speak. At the marine sector, we have Master Marina, and of course a shipping and logistics that will be to us today. Well, if you want to talk about shipping, what happens on the waterways? A lot of people just go to import and export. Some people may even think of maybe traveling, but how many people really travel by ship today? Well, it depends on the kind of journey you're embarking on. But then so many things happen right there. How does this sector contribute to the economy? What is diplomacy, the area of international trade, kind of shipping lines that we have in Nigeria? How effective are the ships that we have in Nigeria? Are they okay? Are they good competition we have in advanced countries? Are they capable doing what is expected of them, conveying, let's say, cargo, maybe conveying goods and all of that? All of this will be looked at this evening on the desk. The desk will return after this break. Let's go on a quick break. When we return, the marine sector, and of course we want to mirror the activities that goes on right there. After this break, the desk returns. Stay with us. Welcome back from that break. We have Captain joining us right away. We want to look at the marine sector, and of course it's worth talking about. Joining me on the conversation is Captain Caleb Danladi Bako, a master mariner and an international shipping and logistic expert with professional career in the shipping line with oil and gas. In fact, he's been there for over 15 years. It's good to have you join us, Captain.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me.
So great. So how today, how is preparation for independence?
Well, we are preparing very well, and I want to wish all the viewers a very happy Independence Day celebration. And also, we have just concluded the International Maritime Day, Even though it has passed, I also want to wish all the Nigerians happy International Maritime Day belated.
All right, thank you. All right, let's look at the marine economy right now, the marine sector. So many things happening, and it's worth knowing. So what are the most significant challenges hindering the growth of Nigeria's marine sector, and how can they be addressed? This is very important. First of all, we need to know what the challenges are.
Okay, thank you very much for these important questions. But before I dive into the challenges, it's very, very important for Nigerians to know the initiatives and the steps that have been taken by the federal government to improve the marine and blue economy in Nigeria. First of all, when you have to look at the new Ministry of Marine Blue Economy that has been created from the previously what we used to call the Ministry of Transport. So that really shows the political will from the government to improve the maritime sector and the blue economy in the country. The other aspect that the Nigerian economy have done significantly has to do with the issue of National Seafarer Development Project, which have trained sufficient number of seafarers to man the ships, which is commendable. And also the Cabotage Vessels Financial Fund that have been withheld for over a period of 20 years will soon be released, which is a good news to ship operators and shippers, which is excellent. However, there are still some issues that need to be addressed for our country to be competitive when it comes to international shipping. And one of those issues have to do with investment in infrastructure. We need to invest aggressively when it comes to infrastructure. We need to expand the port facilities. We need to invest in modern cargo handling equipment so that will improve the productivity of port operations to be able to carry out the port operation faster. We also need to invest in what we call the dredging of the channels so that bigger ships can be able to come in, and that has to do with economic of scales. We also need to invest in terms of hinterland connectivity. That means from the port to the consumer. The road access network need to be developed, even though a lot of efforts have been made to develop these roads and the government has shown political will. But we also need to link what we call the rail system from the ports to also the consumers. It's very, very crucial. Another most important aspect has to do with digitalization of ports. Very, very important. And I'm very happy that the Nigerian Maritime Single Window System will soon come into effect. So investment in digitalization is crucial because that will be able to address the challenges that we have with multiplicity of government agencies, and is going to reduce a bit of issues about duplication of roles, and also is going to reduce a lot of challenges that has to do with errors when it comes to documentation. And transparency is very, very crucial and is very, very key when it comes to shipping. So when we invest in infrastructure, is very, very crucial. However, human capital development is one of the most important aspects that we must look into. We need to invest in cadets. We need to train cadets because the world is surely full of seafarers. We need to invest in cadets. We also need to invest in people that will man this modern equipment that we are talking about. So without human capital investment, I think we need to do more in that aspect. Even though the Nigerian government has shown a lot of political will, but more also need to be done.
You said something about dredging while you were talking. You know, the federal government had promised Nigerians in the past that the major rivers in Nigeria were going to be dredged, the like of River Niger, River Benue, and the likes. Even the Port Harcourt River, even Lagos. We heard of so many dredging. Are you aware government have dredging the rivers?
So when it comes to dredging, most of the contracts have to do with government because I'm not involved in policy, so I can't be able to give you much of those information. So those people who are involved in the negotiation of the contracts for dredging will be able to give those information accurately. However, when it comes to dredging of our channels, I think when it comes to Bonny channel management, a lot of efforts have been made to dredge the channel of ships coming to Bonny. as you can see, a lot of big ships have been coming to Bonny. Also, the Lagos Channel Management, a lot of efforts have also been done. But for the rivers, I think we need to do more. However, when you talk about the dredging contract, I think I'm not in good place to give you accurate information because I'm just a maritime expert, but I'm not involved in most of the contract negotiation.
Exactly. No way you can talk about the contracts because you are not part of the system that award contract. What I was trying to say is if the dredging has been done or not. But then that's, by the way, let's move away from there now. You talked about the training, okay, of younger ones. A lot of people would want to get into the marine sector. What does it take? Who is qualified? Okay, and of course, how can it be done? Because you just talked about training. A lot of people, you know, when you hear of someone being a captain, someone in the blue economy and all of that, a lot of people want to get in there. What's the process? How would one be trained? An expert in that, it's a particular skill.
Okay, that's a very, very important question. And while we're here, we need to encourage the younger one to take over from us. We also need to train more people when it comes to seafaring. So, your question, back to your question now, what does it take? In the seafaring, we have different departments and we have different sections. We have a department that deals with the deck department. That's where you grow up from cadet to third officer, second officer, chief officer, and eventually become a captain. And we also have a department that deals with the propulsion of the ships, which is engineers. They start with the engineering cadet, fourth engineer, third engineer, second engineer, and also chief engineer. And we have another department that also deals with strictly with the catering aspect of the ship. So, for those who want to go into the seafaring career, the very, very important, the first step is for them to be able to complete their secondary school education and have at least 5 credits, including English and Maths. And there are schools in Nigeria that they can start. The Maritime Academy of Nigeria, Oron, the Federal School of Fishery and Oceanography, we have the Chakins Maritime, and we also have the National Maritime University. But very, very important, after the theoretical aspect, when you have gained your national diploma or your degree, you also need what we call the mandatory sea time, which is a 12 to 18 months mandatory sea time, which is a practical phase where you're going to learn about ship operations, where you're going to learn about cargo operation, where you're going to learn about weather routine. So after that, you need to come back to the school again to take what we call certificate of competency exams. It's after that certificate of competency exams that one will be qualified as a deck officer or as an engineering officer. And from there, you will start your career from third officer, from second officer, and then you gradually grow till you become a captain or a chief engineer. At the certain stage of your career, you also need to undertake some certification and some examination. That means after second mate, you need to take what we call a chief mate exam, which gives you advanced management level to be able to undertake cargo operation. From that achievement, you also need to grow gradually to become a captain. You need a master mariner certificate of competency. So that is on the engineering and the deck aspect side. Okay, let's look into the catering side. The catering side, they deal mostly with, let's say, the hotel management in the ships. They are responsible for catering services on the ships. So they also have their phase of training, which is not as rigorous as the deck and engineering training. So they will need to have a basic training when it comes to hygiene. They need to have the basic training when it comes to catering services. Then we also have people that assist the officers. Those are called the deck ratings. So they will also have the basic training when it comes to deck maintenance and also basic engine maintenance. But above all of them must be able to have what we call the basic sea time. They must be able to have what we call the mandatory training courses, the STCW 95, which will have the personal survival at sea, advanced firefighting, personal safety and social responsibility, and basic firefighting training, which is very, very crucial to give them an underpinning knowledge to handle emergencies when it comes to emergency at sea. So there are other also opportunities that exist outside the tech and engineering aspect. Those opportunities that exist include the stevedoring aspect. It also includes places like the agencies. So they also have a tailored training. Even in the Maritime Academy of Nigeria, Oron, they train people on maritime transport and business management, which they will gain that underpinning knowledge. We also have people that deal with charter ship brokers. So you can also be able to undertake an exams in Institute of Charter Ship Broker to become a charter ship broker, which is very, very crucial. So there are a lot of potentials, there are a lot of opportunities when it comes to blue economy. And it's very, very important for us to address the issue of back to basics. That is the minimum threshold limit for entry. That is for young school leavers. That means they must be able to have their WAEC, to be able to have a minimum of 5 credits, to be able to join those pre-C training schools.
Wow, wow, wow. This is, in fact, this knowledge means so much to me, and I know Nigerians are excited. This knowledge.
Yes, there are also other opportunities after the captain. You can also move to the
now.
You can also move to become a defendant.
Okay, you're saying something.
Yes, I said opportunity exists after becoming a captain. You can move to become a port manager. You can move to even become a managing director of a shipping company.
Back to Nigeria now, because a lot of people will be saying, all right, I'm hearing about this. This is very interesting. How does this now, okay, contribute to economic diversification and, of course, growth? Because that is what everyone towards, including the marine sector.
Okay. The marine sector in Nigeria has been a major source of economic growth. Very, very important is more than 70% of trade that comes in and out of Nigeria, more than 90% of seaborne trade comes through the maritime transportation. So that's to show you how significant the maritime sector is in Nigerian economy. The maritime sector is a driver of economic activities in the country, and very important, it contributes to the GDP of the country. How does it contribute? It contributes in 3 different ways. We have the direct contribution, we have the indirect, and also the induced contribution. Let's look at the direct contribution. We mentioned about 70% of seaborne trade is through the ports. Also, that means it contributes through the port dues, concession fee, and also the port operations fee, which is very, very important. Also the job creation. You pay seafarers salary. You also pay people that work in port salary. So it contributes to GDP. For the induced part, for every job that is created in port, it creates other jobs. For instance now, if you are bringing in container to Nigeria, it creates other jobs in warehousing and in trucking in Kano. So that's an induced part of it. And what it generates, what you call it, towards the GDP. Let's also look at another aspect. Like now, if a port is being developed, let's say in Lagos, a lot of people would like to work in port. What we do is going to induce a real estate company. A lot of people will start to invest in real estate, which is will also contribute to also the GDP of the country, which is very crucial. So let's look at another aspect. Let's look at the indirect aspects. Without shipping, the manufacturing sector, the agricultural sector, and the oil and gas sector, which are key contributors to the oil and gas sector, without them it's impossible. You can produce anything, but without the shipping, you can't be able to ship it out. So shipping industry is a lifeline. The blue economy is a lifeline. And also, let's look at the maritime tourism. They also contribute to the GDP and the economic growth of the country. Let's also look at the fisheries country. They contribute also to the food security. They create millions of jobs, which is very, very important and crucial. So when it comes to shipping, shipping is the lifeline of the global economy. It moves the global economy from one point to the other. Without shipping, it's impossible. You can produce, but you cannot export. So that is very, very important. That is how crucial shipping is to the global economy.
All right. You know, when you got started, you were talking about the government's efforts. Now, with all of these, is the government aware of this benefit? And before now, how has been the support of the government as far as this sector is concerned?
The government is aware of this benefit. That's why we have the National Policy on Marine and Blue Economy, which has just been approved by the National Executive Council. So because they understand the potential of blue economy. But let me take you back to memory lane. The government has done a lot. First of all, let's look at the 2000, the concession of ports. Before 2000, Nigerian ports were inefficient. It takes months to load ships. You know, the cost of shipping to Nigeria is very high, and a lot of people have to divert their ships, their cargo to neighboring ports like Togo, Lomé, and Cotonou. But today, through the port concessions, we have been able to have private sector participation in ports, whereas there's improvement when it comes to port efficiency, even though there are a lot that need to be done in that aspect. Let's look at another aspect, such as what we call the merging of Jomalik and Nimasa that took place in the early 2000s. You know, it has improved the safety of maritime safety in the country. Another important aspect is about the Deep Blue Economy Project, which has assisted to reduce the maritime piracy in the Gulf of Guinea. And more recently, there has been also development when it comes to maritime single window system in the country. The maritime single window system is going to address a lot of administrative bottlenecks when it comes to port. So I believe the government have also done a lot in their own part, and the private sector are also doing more. So there are a lot of policies that have been in place. Also, there are also a lot of executive orders that have also been in place to address some of these issues in the country.
All right. You know, when you talk about ship, the mind of a lot of people will go to, oh, very big. I think ship is fading out. The shipping is fading out because of technology and all of that. Now, let's look at technology now. What role can technology play in enhancing the efficiency? Number one, the efficiency, and of course, competitiveness of Nigeria's maritime sector, because the competition is real, okay? And you know what I'm talking about, Captain. What do you think?
It's very important. I believe technology has done a lot and is still going to do a lot. Let me give you some example. You know, the world is changing today. And if you look at in the past, we have cameras that are known as Kodak film. When they snap, you take the negative film to your house so that you can watch it. You also have the likes of Nokia. Before, we have the Nokia 3310. Today they are no more. Why? Because they did not innovate. So innovation is very, very crucial in the global landscape, and most especially in shipping. I've discussed about the maritime single window system. It has to do with technology, where all the custom, immigration, port health is going to have a single platform where a shipper or an exporter is going to submit their own documents. So it's very, very important. Shipping is crucial. Shipping will also help in tracking, you know, the bed time, so that it will reduce delays on vessels coming to bed in port, which is very, very significant. And one of the most important aspect of shipping is going to improve efficiency. So when we talk about digitalization, you are going to digitalize most of our processes. One thing, when you digitalize the processes, is going to reduce a lot of administrative bottlenecks. When you move a file from one office to the other, there are issues of transparency involved. There are issues of missing documents involved. There are also issues of errors on the clerical aspect. But technology is going to address that issue. We have seen example of how it has been successful in other ports. For example, Tangier today in Morocco is an African port, and it has been successful. Let's look at another port example. Let's look at the port of Rotterdam. It's also been successful. Another key aspect of technology today, we are also going to have automatic vehicles, whereas when the crane loads, you don't need somebody that will drive those vehicles. It's going to enhance efficiency. It's going to move container from one point to the other faster. is going to improve efficiency of movement, which is very, very crucial and very, very important. So technology is going to address the issue of inefficiency by improving the dwell times of cargo import, by improving the average waiting times of ships, which has also been proven in other ports. So I believe with technology, we are going to address a lot of issues of inefficiency. The issues of inefficiency will be a theme of the past when it comes to technology.
The things that is common with the ship and the speed, the number of days it takes, is there anything, do you think there is any technology that can make it faster, or there is any work going on to make travels by ship, okay, faster than it used to be right now? Because one of the things that a lot of people actually worry about most times is the number of days it takes for a ship to move from one.
It is a very, very important question. When you talk about the ship speed, there are a lot of criteria that you have to look. So when the ship goes faster, what happens? You burn more fuel. So when a ship moves, let's say from Lagos to the port of Durban in South Africa, there is what we call the ETA. There's estimated time of arrival for the ships to be there. So the ship is going to steam at a speed that will enable it to arrive at that particular time. A lot of efforts have been made. When you look at from the 19th century, 20th century till date, the slow steam ships has changed. The steam ships have changed. There's improvement in design of ship's engine. There's a lot of improvement when it comes to propulsion of ships. So a lot of significant efforts have been made. What has been made? The most important thing is when a ship is moving, it has to align with the climate change agenda, decarbonization. When we look at the idea of decarbonization, the world is fast changing. So you should be able to burn zero sulfur content, and that's how the ships are designed. And most of the ships that are designed are fast ships. For instance, container ships are designed at very fast speed, but they have to steam at a particular speed to be able to arrive the port. Because if you have too many ships coming at the fast speed, what will happen? You have a lot of congestion of cargo in the port. So everything is shipping is planned. Everything is shipping is planned as per when the ship is going to arrive. So it's very, very important. It's very, very crucial. So technology has made us to improve the way ships are being designed, to improve the way ships are being handled, to improve the ship of speed, to improve how ships are also being able to withstand weather conditions. Mind you, you can go at a very fast speed, but one thing that will slow down your speed is weather. And one thing the technology has done is to be able to provide us with what we call the weather information, weather routine, for us to be able to know areas that we avoid at sea, to be able to improve ships, or for us to be able to go with the current. The current is going to help you to move at a faster speed. So technology has done so, which is very, very important. And another aspect, when it comes to technology, now the world is moving towards autonomous ships, that ships will have to move on their own without people. So a lot of tests are taking place, a lot of experimentation are going on to ensure that the safety aspect of autonomous will be able to comply with international rules and regulations. And another aspect is about people that will manage the autonomous ship, whether it's going to be semi-autonomous or fully autonomous. A lot of significant effort has been made from the International Maritime Organization.
Wow, wow. You say, you mean there is a plan to bring up a ship that will move without the help of human being?
Exactly.
Wow. Wow, that is technology. But it has not started yet, right?
Yes, experimentation is ongoing at the moment. There are a lot of tests that have been going, and the International Maritime Convention, because there are a lot of conventions that govern the maritime system. So a lot of international maritime conventions are also ongoing to test whether this autonomous system is going to work, what are the risks, how we can be able to reduce these risks to as low as reasonable as practicable.
All right, let's look at international relations and diplomacy. Because the travel, just like the aeroplane, all right, like those who travel by air, you need to move from one country, you cross one country to the other before you get to your final destination. Like for the airlines, there is a permit they get from each of the countries across which they are flying to get to their original country. And another one is getting in touch with what we call the control tower for the aeroplane. For the ship, for those of you that are captains, what do you think? How does this ship, the movement of this ship across countries, how does it work?
It's a very important question. So the movement of the ship works very, very well. I've been a captain and I've worked at sea, and I can categorically tell you the steps it takes. First of all, when you are in a port, like you are in the port of Lagos, before you sail out of Lagos, you need what we call outward port clearance, which is going to be issued by the Nigerian immigration. You also have a departure crew list. Crew list contains the names of all the crew on board, meaning all the people that works on board. It has their name, date of birth, nationality, and where they joined. They also have their discharge book. So as soon as the ship is leaving the port, there's what we call the maritime pilots. They are going to pilot the ship from the port to the pilot station. From there, they hand over to the captain of the ship. So when the ship leaves that port, they start to communicate to the port that is going to arrive. So the communication has to do with exchange of certain information, exchange of the cargo they are carrying, the quantity they are going to load, the bonded store, why they are being carried in the bonded store, the number of crew, do they need fuel in that particular port, do they need water supply in that particular port, do they need to take stores, do they need technicians that are going to handle. All those communications are being taking place. They liaise with the agent, they liaise with the port authority, and then just before the ship arrives, there's an exchange of information. It starts from the 96 hours message, it moves to the 48 hours message, it moves to the 24 hours message, it moves to the 12 hour and also 6 hours message just before you take pilot. So the ship will get to a pilot station, the pilot will come there and pick the pilot to pick the ship, and they will move to the port. As soon as they get to the port, you are not going to start the cargo operation. What will happen now is the custom will come on board, the port head will come on board, the immigration will come on board, and also some of the government officials will come on board with the agent, and the first thing they will do is to check for quarantine to ensure that everybody in the ship is healthy, so that you will not move any communicable disease or any issue from the country you left to Nigeria. So what we do, the port head will going to assess the health conditions. They will go through the health history of the vessel, the health history of the crew, and they will give what we call free pratique, which is about the quarantine issue. So once the free pratique is issued, you have a yellow flag that's raised, you lower the yellow flag down. The yellow flag indicates I require free pratique. You lower the yellow flag down, which is very, very important. As soon as you lower the yellow flag down, the custom and the immigration also are going to go through their own checklist. The immigration will check through the passport, ensure that all the passports are in date, to check everything. The custom will also ensure that there is bonded store, there is no contraband that has been brought into the country. And after that, the ship is given clearance for them to load and discharge. But there is also a lot of laws that are governing the International Maritime Body. Apart from the International Maritime Organization, which is the arm of United Nations that deals strictly with maritime activities, we also have what we call UNCLOS, United Nations Convention of the Laws of the Seas, that define different areas. We also have the territorial waters. We also have the economic exclusive zone, which is about 200 miles off from the coastal zone. So it's very, very important. Everything about ship is being governed by rules and regulation. Everything about ship is being governed by different conventions, treaties, and policies. So it's very, very important. Before you get to one country, there are a lot of documentation that you need to exchange. Also, before you get to that country, you also need permission from that country to be able to enter their territorial waters. They are also, in the course of your journey, you might pass through places that we call like the straits. You look at, for example, we have the Singapore Strait. So there are different sectors as you are passing, you are reporting. I'm passing through this sector, I'm entering this sector. You can report to, for instance, you report to Singapore Vessel Traffic Information System. You can also report to Indonesia Vessel Traffic System. You can report to Malaysia in different territorial waters. So very, very important. You cannot enter a territorial zone without permission. However, there are what we call right of innocent passage. You can just be able to pass without bringing a trade or coming to the port. So your role is just to pass through the waters. What you call the right of innocent passage. You just pass through. There's no problem. It's still same thing with the aircrafts.
Important. Our time is winding up, but then there are two more very important questions that I would like to ask. Now, recent events like the Red Sea crisis, that is one, and of course, which has forced ships to reroute around the Cape of Good Hope. How has this destruction, as a matter of fact, highlighted both the vulnerability and the potential strategic importance of Africa's maritime geography in global supply chain?
The disruption in the Red Sea, which has to do with geopolitical issues that happen in the Red Sea, has caused a lot of ships that have to transit through the Suez Canal to divert their voyage through the Cape of Good Hope that is around Africa. And there are, for every disruption, there are challenges and there are opportunities. Let's look at the challenges first. One of the challenges aspect of it is the number of voyages is going to increase because you are moving from Asia to Europe route. Instead of spending 10 days, you are going to spend 20 days, meaning that the consumption of fuel will increase, the operating cost will increase. And what does that translate? It translates to increase in cost that is going to pass on to the consumers. That's another challenge. But let's look at opportunities. Now, because the ships are routing towards the Cape of Good Hope, a lot of ports in Africa has the chances and the potential to leverage on most of this opportunity. And they will leverage on most of this opportunity on the sense that most of the ports now will become hub ports. They will become a major port for crew change, major ports for changing of ship spares, major ports for picking up stores and for taking up bunkers. Because if the voyage increased by 10 days, meaning that you need to consume more fuel for the vessel, meaning you need more stores, meaning that you might be able to change more passengers. So there's business opportunities for ports along the African route and the Gulf of Guinea, which is very important. However, because you have a lot of ships that are transiting the Cape of Good Hope, there is an issue of emission, and the world is moving toward decarbonization issue. So African ports should look at an opportunity to invest in alternative fueling system instead of leveraging on fueling systems such as the normal HFO, LSFO. They should look at investing on alternative fuel system like LNG, biofuels, renewable energies. So for this issue of the rerouting of ships, it presents opportunities and also there are own challenges. But there is cause for in most important aspect is partnership. And when you look at SDG 17, it talks about partnership. African countries should come together and partner because of these opportunities. Now, African route is a very, very significant trading route in the global landscape. Now, without the African route, how will you route the ship? You will go through the Pacific, which is more expensive. So it presents a lot of opportunities for us. Ports like Lekki Deep Sea Port today, the Walvis Bay today, they are going to become a major hub spot when it comes to this disruption in the Suez Canal.
Right. Thank you very much, Captain. Captain, let's go on this break. We'll return and I'll ask you one more or two and we'll get. Let's go on a quick break. After this break, we've actually looked intensively about some of the pertinent questions that we need to ask about what is happening right at the shipping sector. Now, it's still good to have you join us, Captain.
Thank you very much.
All right. We are already rounding up, but then there are one or two questions that I would like to ask. As it is right now, from the discussion that we've had, let me put it this way. Because it is often cited that shipping costs within Africa is among the highest in the world, which you are going to confirm to us if that is true or not. And as a matter of fact, beyond port infrastructure, for instance, then we have what we call the key factors. What are now the key factors apart from the port infrastructure, such as bureaucratic delays, custom inefficiencies, or cottage laws that is driving this cost? And how can they actually be addressed? Because that is the major issue. If a problem is known and the way to address it is not there, then there is no headway, Captain.
Okay, that's a very, very important question. You're right, shipping costs in Africa is one of the highest in the whole world. I totally agree with that. However, a lot of issues that contribute to, and one of those issues specifically in infrastructure, in modern infrastructure. We need to invest in state-of-the-art of cranes. We need to invest in state-of-the-art of cargo handling equipment. That will address that. That will enable cargos to be able to move faster, and that will address the time spent in cargo processing. Another issue is the limited draft issue. We need to dredge our channels to accommodate bigger ships. If you have smaller ships, bigger ships take the issue of opportunity of cost, because the bigger ships you have, the more cargo it carry, and the cost is going to spread across, which is very, very important. Another important aspect is the link to the hinterland. You can bring in cargo to ports today, but the roads from ports to the final consumer, if they are not good, then it has to have a lot of bottlenecks. So we have to invest in the roads network from ports to the final consumer. We also have to invest in alternative transportation, such as rail, that will be able to move. And very important, we have to utilize the rivers, river transportation through barges, which is very, very important. The other aspect that is driving the cost up is about multiplicity of government agencies. So to address the solution, I'm happy the Nigerian government has been a lot now. We need to invest in digitalization. Maritime system is going to address the issue of, custom issue, multiple agencies. And very, very crucial issue, inconsistency in most of the African countries and unstable exchange rate. It also drives, the FX high, and it drives the cost of import and export high, which is very, very important for us to address. But beyond that, also the people that are managing, if there is also frequent failure in equipment like, then that causes another problem. So, on human capital, that will be able to predict maintenance for reliability and availability of, which is very, 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 very crucial thing. Above all, there are issues also of carbon in African countries, whereas the domestic trade is being left for the local or indigenous ships. But in most cases, most of those countries, the ships are not sufficient, but they are old. So you have a high volume of cargo and limited number of ships, which is a very, very serious issue. So we need also modern ships. We also need to increase the number of vessels. And I'm happy that the Nigerian government has shown political will through the cabotage vessel fund, which will soon be disbursed also the ships are very crucial and very important. Above all, human capital development and infrastructure are key to address most of these issues. Also, policy inconsistency, private public partnership are crucial to bring in more development. The government not alone, they require public-private partnership.
Oh, all right.
And consular services.
All right. Thank you very much, Captain. Our time is already up. We are so glad to have you join us on the program today. Subsequently, we would love to do more of this discussion with you live in the studio here.
I will definitely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. That was the voice of Captain Caleb Danladi Bako. He is a master shipper and, of course, an international logistic and a shipping expert who is also a humanitarian and a philanthropist who has done so much in his field of endeavor. All right, this is going to be the size of the desk this evening. Well, this is information coming to you about the Nigerian maritime sector. A lot of people don't have this foreknowledge, but now we have it. And of course, this is an information that will go a long way helping a lot of people. Many thanks for joining us on the desk this evening. My name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Bye-bye for now.